And it was at that moment that we said, we have to bring this everywhere. This is something for adults. It's for families to come together. It's about connecting with yourself, like Karen did originally, and connecting with others like we saw my daughters doing. When the light bulb went off, a year later, we opened our doors. I don't think we really knew what we were building until we opened our door on the first day, and we had 3,000 people outside. No one normal would do this. It's a true act of hopefulness. It's hard to do something that's never been done before if you don't have complete trust with your co-founder.
You're listening to Signal, the podcast for attraction leaders shaping the future of guest experiences. This is Signal.
Today, we're joined by Sara Schiller, co-founder and co-CEO of Sloomoo Institute. But Sara's story actually starts long before Slime became a $30 million business. She's what I'd call a space alchemist, someone who has this rare ability to take unconventional concepts and turn them into experiences that people just can't stop talking about. Before Sloomoo, Sara revolutionized corporate meetings through her company Meet, where she created art-filled venues in downtown New York that were so compelling, global brands like Chanel and Lego chose her spaces over their corporate boardrooms. She also co-founded the Wooster Collective, which became the world's largest street art blog and transformed an entire building into a temporary street art gallery that became a must-see destination. But here's what makes Sara's perspective so valuable for attraction operators. She built her career on taking things that shouldn't work as attractions, like corporate meetings, street art, and yes, slime, and turned them into experiences that people seek out and pay premium prices for. Sloomoo Institute now welcomes over 500,000 visitors across 5 locations, with 75% of their customers finding them through organic social media. That's the kind of word of mouth marketing every attraction dreams of. Well, welcome here, Sara. We're really excited to have you. This podcast process is something that we really enjoy doing, and we love talking to different people about what they do and what they love. Thanks for joining us today. Tim, you want to add anything here?
You know, Sara, I've known you for a few years now, and I've just always found your story and really you just incredible with the stuff that you've accomplished. So I'm super excited to have you join us today.
Thank you. Well, I'm excited, and Tim, you held my hand when we jumped into dynamic pricing 2 years ago. So I think we have a level of trust that's pretty deep after that time together.
So maybe we kick off today, and I think a really great podcast is just a really great conversation. And, I've watched a bunch of podcasts over the years, and the ones that are really formula and structure tend to be the ones I'm like, I don't know. But the ones that are really engaging conversations is where I really like to sit. So maybe we start off with just having a good old fashioned conversation. So your origin story is a story that is like, it's got adversity in it. It's got like these highs and lows. You've got these moments where you're like, you suddenly realize that this slime wasn't just a toy. This thing that you were doing wasn't just a toy, but it actually had something magic to it. Do you want to walk us through a little bit of that?
Yeah. So we call it a darkness to light story because it gets pretty dark in the beginning, and we want people to know that it gets better. But my co-founder, Karen, and I have been friends for 17 years. We have met over a joint passion over contemporary art. So we used to go see a lot of art together. And 17 years ago, my older daughter was born with a rare genetic syndrome called Angelman syndrome. It really provided a lot of limitations. She's profoundly disabled. She can't speak. She can't do any activities of daily living. But a symptom of her syndrome is happiness. So she wakes up every day joyful to see the world, and it's lovely to have her as part of my family. Fast forward to 11 years ago, my husband of decades woke up at the age of 50, and he had a massive bilateral stroke, and he ended up profoundly disabled, unable to speak, unable to do any activities of daily living. And then 3 years after that, Karen's husband lost his life due to a severe depression and mental illness. And then 9 months after that, her cousin was murdered in the Parkland school shooting.
Wow.
So as friends, you know who your friends are when you go through major trauma.
Yeah.
And I like to think too that also when you're down and out, like you can really trust someone. And Karen was at her house when a friend came over with her 10-year-old daughter, and she had slime with her. And Karen was playing with her daughter after being severely depressed herself and just almost unable to carry on. And the next thing she knew, her friend was leaving. And she's like, "Why are you leaving? You just got here." And she's like, "You've been playing with my daughter for 4 hours." And Karen was like, "What? I feel really good. I got to bring this to Sara." So she started to become what's known as an adult slimer, ordering slime from all over the internet, from Etsy sites. She brought it to me and my 2 girls. So I had my older one who's disabled and my younger one, and we would just sit there and talk and play. And what we realized one day is that my older daughter with the syndrome was playing equally with my typically developing daughter, and they were having a relationship and connecting over slime. And it was at that moment that we said, we have to bring this everywhere. This is something for adults. It's for families to come together. It's about connecting with yourself, like Karen did originally, and connecting with others, like we saw my daughters doing. I think when the light bulb went off, a year later, we opened our doors. Everything from raising money, writing the business plan, designing it, building it, launching it, the work.
That's an incredible story. Like, and it's more than a story. You lived it. You are living it. How did you find hope in the middle of that? Like, all that's going on. Was it that moment you saw like people losing themselves in what you're doing and finding their own happiness there? Where was that moment you went, okay, I see hope rising again? Because I feel like there must have been some parts in there that were pretty hopeless.
One thing that I found out through this process is I'm super optimistic. So I think hopefulness is inside me. And I think for any entrepreneur out there, you wake up thinking things are going to work, because otherwise you wouldn't do crazy things. And opening an immersive experience around slime is crazy. If we knew what we were doing, or, you know, no one normal would do this. It's a true act of hopefulness, right?
Can confirm.
So well, I don't think we really knew what we were building until we opened our door on the first day, and we had 3,000 people outside, and Karen and I were inside at what we call Lake Sloomoo, which is a lake of 300 gallons of slime. And these kids were just jumping up and down and up and down. And she and I held hands and started crying because we realized, like, we had done it. We had brought this to the world and other people liked it too. So it was a great feeling. And the reason I like to tell the story about our friendship and what we went through is it's hard to do something that's never been done before if you don't have complete trust with your co-founder. And Karen and I have this level of trust that's it's unbelievable.
I agree about the part about you can't be a normal person if you're going to be an entrepreneur. There's something inherently right or inherently wrong about you, and maybe both in that, how that works.
One thing I did want to say or tell you guys, because I think it is also a unique part of my story, is not only do I like love the art and the guest experience piece, but I also have my MBA in finance. So I have the other side of the brain fully ticking. And one of my landmark projects that I did at Starwood Hotels was I built a financial model with a team to calculate return on invested capital by name of customer, which only like 5 companies in the world have ever done. It's a big effort. That ability, I think, as an entrepreneur to go like across all of your operational components was really critical in helping us get through the pandemic and get off the ground and do something that's never been done before, where there is no financial model. Karen and I say that we have a Venn diagram of skills, and in the middle is building a brand and knowing exactly what a branded experience feels like. And then she and I divide and conquer everything else. She's on that marketing side and storytelling side, and I have a lot of the business part of it.
That is once again just underlining the fact that entrepreneurs aren't always normal people. They have a lot of skills and a lot of things across a wide category. And you sound like you
Yeah.
found a partner that just really, really suits. Like,
We suit each other well, and I can't tell you how many times we've walked into meetings and we'll have our VP of Ops with us, and he's hanging out, and the person in the meeting will turn to him and start asking him questions, and Karen and I are sitting there going like, we can raise money, we can build a business,
Yeah.
like don't just assume.
Yeah. I always try and describe my job description. I put that together. I'm like, well, taking out the garbage and fundraising and everything in between, right? Like that's just the job description. So.
Yeah.
We often ask people, especially in the attractions industry, like, when did you fall in love? Like, when did you fall in love with slime during this process? Because there had to be a tipping point.
So I fell in love with slime when Karen brought over a butter slime that smelled like Fruit Loops. And I was in my late 40s. I'm now in my 50s. And I was taken back from the smell of Fruit Loops to my 7-year-old self. I have 2 brothers. My mom bought 1 box of sugar cereal every 2 weeks. And we're fighting over, we would eat the whole box in one Saturday morning cartoon sitting. And that was a great memory for me. And the slime triggered it. It also really makes you feel good by playing with slime. So it's releasing endorphins and dopamine in your brain. So between the scent and that butter slime, which is a creamy, squishy, lovely slime, I was hooked.
I remember when I heard about Sloomoo, and I was having difficulty pronouncing the name. I didn't quite know how to pronounce it in general, but from day one, you guys chose the name Sloomoo Institute. Not a museum, not a playground, not a attraction, not a thing. It feels very deliberate. Like, what was the thought process behind that?
Yeah, so we took a long time figuring out our name. I have since found out that a lot of entrepreneurs hire naming companies, which Karen and I did not do. But in 2017, there was an amazing trend in the slime community, and the slime community is really an incredible group of diverse people. And the trend was get your slime name by replacing the vowels of your name with double O. So Sarah becomes Suru, Tim becomes Toom, John becomes June. And we always knew when we were launching Sloomoo that it was going to be more than just slime. So calling it Sloomoo made a lot of sense. Sloomoo is a slime name for slime. And what we love to say is that it gives people permission to play. So when you come into Sloomoo, you get your slime name. And a lot of people really transform themselves into someone else when they change their name. And we love it when people come in with their grandfather, who's known as Papa, and they become Poo Poo. And we still get letters from kids. They're calling their grandpa or their papa, Poo Poo for years. It is stuck. So that was an important part. And then we did also spend a lot of time thinking about museum. And for us, institute seemed to make sense because it taps into all the science behind slime. Slime is a non-Newtonian particle. It's not a liquid or a solid. It's a craft that you make in a slime kitchen. It's a polymer. It has all these great attributes. There's also a really lovely part of having an institute around slime because we attract a lot of young girls. And as a nerdy girl, science girl myself, I think it's kind of cool to lean into that. Well, nerdy girls are cool too. You can love science and math and still
STEM.
be hip and cool. Yeah.
That's really cool. So your mission is deliver joy. And clearly that's what you're doing for people. That poo poo, like, that's hilarious. That like, and that grandma's moo like, I don't like, it's great. Like, how do you track KPIs around deliver joy? Like, what is the KPI that you track that goes, we're doing it?
That's a really good question. We probably revert back to what more traditional attractions, experiences, or retailers use. So we're tapping into mystery shop scores. We're tapping
Mm-hmm.
into our NPS scores. So we do like hard data. We love data around here, and we want to get that survey data. We get a lot of handwritten letters. So the one thing that you may remember in the back of your mind when you're around 7 or 8 years old, one of your school projects is to learn how to write a letter
Mm-hmm.
and mail it.
Mm-hmm.
So we get a lot of mail, which is really, really fun, the cutest stuff ever. And we're tracking our Google scores. We're tracking our customer satisfaction from a numbers perspective. But I think all you have to do is visit the locations and stand there and watch, and you can really feel people coming together.
It's really interesting to see when people are engaged in something and they lock in on something, it's like everything else just kind of fades away. And you can see that they're just super focused. You see it. I remember doing it with my kids, going to these kinds of like really kid focused or really like knowledge focused. We went to a lot of like kids museums and things like that. And you'd see your kid lock in and then you'd lock in and then you'd be like, okay, oh, hold on. It's 2:00 in the afternoon. We should probably get some lunch, these moments.
Yeah, the great thing about slime also is that you have to use both your hands. So you
Ah,
can't be on your phone. So
oh,
it's
great.
great for adults because they're forced to put their phones in their pockets, and the kids really, really notice that their parents are connecting with them.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite audiences that come in are these like single dads
Mm.
with their daughters, macho, cool guys who are like, well, I'm not really going to touch the slime. I'm just here for my daughter. And 20 feet in the experience, you see them like grinning and stretching and pulling, and they'll leave saying like, I needed this more than my kid. Like,
Mm-hmm.
this was awesome. And they're caught off guard. And there's a beauty in having children because they do allow you to do things that either you forgot how to play or you forgot to do.
Yeah.
And it gets you to surprise yourself with how much fun you can have because we've all forgotten how to play.
Yeah. I mean, we all have an inner 9-year-old, right? There's that inner 9-year-old that never goes away, but
Mhm.
we don't live that life anymore. We don't really have that freedom to do that very often. And I can definitely see how that would come out in those environments because what else are you going to do? Stand around and not engage? Like, I don't know how you don't engage with that, especially with that much joy in the room. It's contagious.
So we launched a new exhibit today in New York um, that starts to take slime and transforms it into other things. So it's a room when you walk in, it has a table with 10 different vats of slime. And when you touch the slime, the energy that's in your body, that's in the water in your body, is transferred into the water that's in the slime. That's transferred into the copper bowl that has a reader on the bottom of it that you can't see. The reader triggers lights to come out from your bowl and on above you on the ceiling. And each bowl has a different musical instrument that turns on. And as you play, the more you play, the more the beat starts. And if you have 10 people in the room, the whole song is going and the whole table and ceiling starts spinning in rainbow colors.
You got disco slime.
So it's disco slime, it's grooves, groovy grove, and it's tapping this into this science, slime, music, obviously scent from the
Yeah,
slime, and then just visually, it's this candy store.
man. I got to get to New York. Tim, we're going to have to book some time in New York.
Yeah, or Atlanta or Chicago or Houston
And Chicago's closer.
or LA.
Or LA.
Yeah, LA.
Yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned how parents become involved. You go into these experiences thinking it's going to be all about the kids, and then the parents end up becoming involved. I think that's a testament to how you guys have built the whole experience and the careful thought behind everything that you've put into it. And you mentioned they put their phones away because you need two hands, right?
Mhm.
But this trend came from social media, right? Which is directly from phones. So the satisfying slime video, was born on phones, but then you translated that digital piece into something that's become not digital, where you don't want the digital piece in your hand, right? While you're experiencing the traction. How did you do that at scale?
Yeah, when we did something really conscious that I think most people won't notice, but they'll feel, which is we really pioneered the experiential entertainment retail space to be for adults
Mm.
in a visual language perspective. So, taking in our love of contemporary art, we wanted to create a space that adults would feel really good in. A building, the vats, the custom vats that we have for our slime are like these gorgeous statues almost. And we like to say, well, you could put slime in a trash can and kids would love it. But when you put it in these custom vats, the adults are like, I guess this is for me. When they see our curvy walls that really tap into the slimy nature of slime. Everything is elevated and sophisticated. So you don't feel like you're going into a play space or a children's playground. You actually feel like you're going into a museum. And then it happens to have all this crazy fun slime in there. So we're tapping into that design sense that people have.
That's interesting. So you built with the intention of creating a space that adults would be comfortable in, and then layered kids into it in a way that they could. That's really smart. Like really, really smart way of approaching that, because there's lots of kid places that adults are like, oh my goodness, that's a lot of neon, or that's a lot of flashing
Mhm.
lights, or that's a lot of like kind of difficult things as an adult to process, but kids love. But I love that you've done that, because I just think that's a really interesting idea.
Well, and it makes sense because Karen and I were the ones that first fell in love with the slime
Right.
as
Yeah, of course.
adults.
Yes. Yeah.
As adults, yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. Who are your so this is totally off topic, but who are your favorite contemporary artists? I'm just curious. Do you have some
Oh
favorites?
boy. So, well, I will just start by telling you that for over a decade, I was the mouthpiece for the global street art movement. So in the
Okay.
early aughts, we did major exhibitions, published books, spoke around the world on creativity from street art as a passion project. So this was just a side gig. So I love artists like JR, Shepard Fairey, Swoon, all the artists who really looked at public space, architecture, and cities and how people were moving through cities to be a part of the piece of art they were creating. And I think that influence and that love really works well when you're creating an immersive experience, because if you take that street art passion of mine combined with my background at Starwood Hotels, focusing on the guest experience, we've curated from the moment you approach the building a guest experience that taps into your senses, visually what the journey is, and then what the actual experience is from beginning to end.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm glad I asked that question, because I immediately did some Googling and pulled up those artists, and Swoon is incredible. Like, so I'm gonna go explore a little bit on that after. It's funny because I mean, you're such an art-based mindset. Like, I can see that you're an artist yourself. I don't know if you also create art, but clearly you're creating an art of sorts. And the definition of art is well beyond the scope of what we can talk about in this podcast, because I think that's a pretty broad definition. But when you think about how you're going on the business side, so you're acquiring customers, and that had to have been the side that you're like, okay, there's things to learn here. 75% of your acquisition right now is coming through organic social, right? So you're pulling people in through organic social. How do you balance creating like analog experiences, these kind of really tactile analog experiences, with digital, like the digital shareability? Like, how do you
Mhm.
bring these things together? Because we're just inundated by videos on our phones, and now AI is creating even more kind of digital garbage. So how do you manage to bridge that?
Yeah. So the good news is I have a genius business partner in Karen who really created the field of influencer marketing. And that's what she was doing before she and I joined hands and built Sloomoo. So she fundamentally understands influencers and how people think
Amazing.
and move online as part of her DNA. And from the very beginning, we've focused on creating meaningful content. We are always creating reasons for people to come back, because we don't want to have to keep acquiring, right? We know how expensive that is. So trying to get the repeat visitor rate up, and doing that with almost a continuous stream of activations, which result in a lot of content that we can put online that people love. The one that we have going right now is called a PSA to Play. It's a public service announcement from kids to adults saying, make sure you take time out of your day to play. And for us, we want people to play with slime, but that could mean just having a dance party, or, running down the supermarket aisle and shouting with joy. So, and it's been so cute. The kids are so cute, but also we have people coming into this space. We have these big walls that people are drawing on and writing on and messaging, and we have coloring sheets. So we're doing things that seem so basic, but people then take that and they share it online, and it just grows.
Yeah, it's really fascinating. You launched the original location, New York location, 4 months before COVID, and then the world shut down. And I think as an industry in attractions and passenger vessels and tours, it was really an unsure time for everyone, and we were trying to think, like, how do we get through it? But you guys did something really smart. You pivoted to virtual camps for companies like Google. What's the most important lesson you learned during that period? Your business is just getting started, and you're hit with this adversity. Not that your life didn't have adversity before it, but this is different. This is a business perspective.
Well, I think it taps into those parts of you being an entrepreneur that you may not know you have, which is that fearlessness without being reckless, I hope. And we were fearless to experiment. We literally turned on initially summer camps for kids, and we made up what a camp looks like, and Karen and I were doing the camps. I mean, it was us. And the next thing we know, there were these communities all over the US of young kids who were knowing each other through the digital camps, but also their parents were like, wow, I can make dinner while my kid is on this online camp. And so we'd see the parents in the background cooking and baking and helping and watching. And those parents then were like, we need to do a family day at Google, at Bank of America. So those companies were like, let's do family Zooms, because everyone was on Zoom, and we started making slime with them. We also even did digital walkthroughs of the space with some of our corporate clients. So we would take a whole team through Sloomoo digitally, but we failed at things too. I always like to bring up our failures because no one wants to talk about them. We launched an in-home brochure to sell slime because we're like, okay, we should be selling slime to every home in America. Everyone needs it. We put together a gorgeous little brochure that got mailed out, 80,000 people or something, crazy number. And we were working with a company that works with a lot of lists of families in our target audience. And the day that it hit in home was the day that the Black Lives Matter protest started.
Oh, no.
The company said they had never seen in their 15 years of being open a worse performing mailer ever. Like literally we flushed the money down the drain. Like there was no coming back for it. There's no messaging you can say to follow up from something that really tapped into so many people and was so tragic. So we just moved on. We continued to move on. And when we could open our doors, we did. And we let in, 20 people an hour. And again, Karen and I were there manning the store, manning it, working ourselves. We had
wiping
taken the
down
team
things.
down.
Yeah.
But what's been this like blessing in disguise with the pandemic, besides keeping us super, super thin, like we are very hungry and thin just as a company. But the blessing in disguise was that people needed slime more than ever when they got back, when they were allowed to be free, because they've now just been on their devices for 3 months, 6 months, a year. And what would you want more than to put your device down and go hang with your kids and do something really fun? So we we actually really popped out. Like we popped out of the pandemic in an amazing way.
Yeah, it's so interesting how like there was such a desperate need for people after that I call it the time that shall not be named, but COVID, but like there's such a need for people and also such a I don't know how we do it. Like, what are we going to do? And so I can see how slime would be that thing that's like really different that also brings people together and just I can see why it suddenly became really popular all of a sudden. Like I
Mm-hmm.
can see how that would play out. I
And
think
I
go
was
ahead.
just going to say that fearlessness then kind of took us through to things on the other end where a year later we opened, or 2 years later, I guess, we opened 2 locations on the same day. We opened Chicago and Atlanta on the same day. And I still don't know why we didn't think that was crazy. But we were like, we have to get open. We need to make money and we need to grow. And with construction delays and everything that happened, like they both basically finished at the same time. So we opened the doors on the same day on a Saturday and we were in one location and then we flew to the next location on Sunday.
Did so I was like, did Karen go to one and you stayed at the other, or no? But you
We
just
couldn't separate. We had to be together.
yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah, that absolutely makes sense. So I mean, a lot of major attractions license and franchise, and go through that process. You've kind of built an entire you built the Sloomoo-verse. I don't know if I'm saying exactly
That's
correct.
what we call it.
Yeah, the
Yep.
Sloomoo-verse. It has its own mascot. It's got like all these different things. You took this kind of you created IP from the concept of joy, and you've gone ahead and now you're going from feeling to fictional world. Like this process, how on earth do you look at it and go, we're going to figure out a franchise model someday, or is this like you're going to run this the way it feels like you're going to have to run this yourself in many different ways for a long time, maybe forever?
I hope not. But I will tell you what the strategy is, because Karen and I, with our different backgrounds, we've had a strategy from day one.
Yeah.
And so none of this is by accident. The experiences in North America, or the 5 in the US, we do own and we manage, and that is very deliberate. We want to control the guest experience to the nth degree. And we know that by creating an unbelievable guest experience, we're getting an emotional connection and building a brand. So building that brand is top in the totem pole of things that we want to do.
Yeah.
We want to license internationally. So we are willing to license, and they'll be licensing the IP, which is not just the character Sloomoo. So Sloomoo is a character, but also a species, which I'll get into a second. So we want to license the visual, the visual IP components, but also the recipes, the operating procedures, the ordering of all the supplies, the vats. Sloomoo Falls, where you put on a biodegradable poncho and have falls dumped on you, is run with like pharmaceutical grade pumps. So someone's getting the full experience when they license, and we have deals that we're working on in Europe and the Middle East. So we will let it go, and people can bring it to life in other countries. We can't control it everywhere. But we're also focused on taking Sloomoo, the character, and bringing her to life through media. So we have a graphic novel that we're working on. And what's so incredible about this novel and this story, you really can't make this up, but the woman who went to Karen's apartment with her 10-year-old has 22 New York Times best-selling novels in the young adult space, and is now our writer for our graphic novel. Yeah. And she's a stroke survivor, and like just so much joy and love with the team that we've built and we're on this journey with, which is so cool. So the graphic novel, we have a series of novels. We're actually working on the third one, even though the first one hasn't come out yet. Those novels will be translated. And Tim, this gets back into your digital piece, into animated shorts, into animated feature films. We have Spotify music channel. We're launching our album this week in conjunction with Grove. And we are going to take that full circle, we hope, to live performance. So, you could go to Sesame Street Live or you could go to Sloomoo Live, where our characters, because we have a species, we have over 100 characters, are dancing, singing, playing with slime, and thus fulfilling the mission of delivering joy. So that's the vision, is really to take, like, we've created the theme park. Now we're creating the movie studio.
I was going to say, I'm waiting for the major theatrical release across all theaters of the Sloomoo universe. Yeah, that's incredible. Tim, I'm not stealing one of your questions. I'm taking us another direction because now I'm really curious.
Okay.
So I remember as an early stage entrepreneur making that first $1 million, where you're like, okay, we made $1 million. And that always takes longer than you think it's going to. It's like this big hill climb. You're trying to figure it out. And then you make your first $1 million. And some people make their first $1 million very quickly. It's just they hit at the right moment and it goes like that. And it's always like, well, once we make $1 million, it's going to be easy from here on in. I have my own opinions on this topic, but I'm very curious. Has it gotten easier? Have you arrived?
So I like to say the kids are all right.
Mm-hmm.
We are no longer on complete panic, but I do check the bank accounts every day.
Mm-hmm.
And we made our first $1 million actually really fast because this caught on like wildfire, but we lost it equally fast when we refunded hundreds of thousands of tickets when the pandemic hit. So we know what it's like. It's getting harder because we have to let things go. And as entrepreneurs, you don't want to do that. Like, I want to control the guest experience. So it's trusting and relying on people. We have way more moving parts than we've ever had, but we're having probably way more fun because we're less panicked. And that's why I say the kids are all right. Like, we wake up feeling like, okay, we got this. What are we gonna nail today?
Solve the problems of the day, and try and plan for the problems of tomorrow. Yeah. No, I understand. I was listening to an interview from the CEO of NVIDIA, which of course is probably the world's most valuable company now. And someone asked him this question: if you knew what was going to happen, would you do it again? Would you do this you do this journey again? And his answer was really interesting. He said, absolutely not. And I thought that was a fascinating thing to say when you've reached, quote unquote, the highest level of business. So what would you, how would you answer that?
I would do it again. I would do it again. And I do think starting, so this is not my first time at the rodeo. I'd started another company that I sold. I actually had to choose at one point, am I going to keep my hospitality company? I had a meetings company, or Sloomoo. And I was like, okay, I'm going to sell this company. But one of the things that Karen and I have been able to do is work in a business that delivers joy. And I think most people don't wake up every day and get to do that. And we've tied in our experience into the fabric of the business. So we have a neurodiverse workforce. 10% of our employees are on the autism spectrum or need a job coach or someone to come to work with them.
Yep.
I call it my Pay It Forward project because I hope someone hires Samantha at one point. But it's super cool that you can have a profitable business and literally be doing good, like giving people jobs who have no meaningful work. And, I don't think I could have gone to work for American Express, but I don't think I would have been able to do that. And the same thing is true with our partnership with the Goldie Hawn Foundation that she's created called Mind Up, which delivers mental fitness for children. So breathing exercises, everything that can make your brain feel good when you're growing up in a really hard situation. And tapping into those two philanthropic arms has been really powerful as an entrepreneur.
That really resonates with me. And I love what you said, because I feel very much the same way. I like how you answered it, because the way you answered it was because of the people and because of the impact on people. That's what gets me up in the morning. And I would 100% agree with you. I think that's also the most challenging part of business, right?
The people is the hardest part. We had an employee who came up to us one day. I was actually taking garbage out, and she stops me at the garbage bin and says, I want to thank you for hiring me. And of course, we're big enough now. I don't even know who she
Don't know who
is.
she is. Yeah.
She said, I'm autistic, and I always thought someone would hire me because I am autistic and I have these certain skills, and no one would ever hire me. And I was about to lose my rent, like I'm about to lose my apartment. And you guys hired me because I'm autistic, and you see the traits that I have and you value them and you're putting them to good use. And if that doesn't bring a tear to your eye and make the whole year good, I don't know what else can. And
Yep.
then the opposite is true on our guest side, because all of our spaces are fully capable for classrooms of children in wheelchairs. So bring the class, we can take you. For our visitors who have children on the autism spectrum or with special needs, come on in. We've got headphones, we've got nose plugs. Our staff is trained on how to work with you. You need a space to hang, come here. Like we want people who are shunned or turned away, because we believe we can give you a great experience. And I know that we do. We have so many people who come back and say, this is the first time we actually felt good as a family. We didn't feel weird. We felt great coming into Sloomoo.
To me, of all things you said, that is the thing that gets you up in the morning. That ability to help like that is how I'm interpreting what you're saying. I think all great entrepreneurs that come out and build great things have to have a motive like that of some sort. I think they're the ones that last and the ones that build things that actually change the world. I think that's what you guys are building. But anyways, I've stolen Tim's question time, so I'll let him get back to it.
No, you brought up a really interesting point, and you moved into the accessibility with guests, and that's something that I think the industry is striving for in traditional attractions, but lots of times they're left out because of how the attraction is built and how it's designed. But you've thought about this from the beginning of how to make it accessible to everyone, kids, individuals, who might be in wheelchairs, neurodivergent, the whole thing, or the whole gauntlet of different types of humans. And I think others in the industry would want to ask you, how do you keep the design philosophy going? And is there a Sloomoo design guide or Bible that they can steal and take into their own attraction? If not, you probably should write one. But
we probably should. So we've been lucky enough to partner with Method Design, and I kid you not, the first hand sketch that was made for Sloomoo New York, our architect put a person in a wheelchair in it, hand drew it. And someone with that sensibility, from without even going deep into what our mission is and who we're trying to be, is a great partner to have. So we've had a great design partner. We've had to sacrifice in certain areas, and I'll say the trade-offs can be difficult. To build something that's super accessible usually costs a lot of money. And so as entrepreneurs, okay, where are we going to take the money from? And I was lucky enough to work for Steve Heyer at Starwood Hotels, who taught me about branding. And one of his philosophies was, if it's not better, different, or special, like, don't invest in it. So if you come into our spaces, and I'm probably going to be mad because I'm now telling the world about this, but you look at our ceilings and our lights, they are not unbelievable. They're pretty basic lighting. Our floors, polished concrete floors, not the nicest floors. Like, we haven't invested in a lot of things that I think traditional retailers invest in. And if it's not like guest facing, touching the guests and something memorable, we pretty much don't invest in it. And it's allowed us, I think, to invest in the things in the right way so that people can access them.
That makes sense. I mean, you figure out what are the things that are important to you, right? You figure out the things that are like, these are the things that are really important. And these other things we can do less with those and spending in those areas, right? Yeah. You have the balance of those things.
I think we all don't have Disney Universal money, right? So how do you get the most bang for the buck on the guest experience and make it the most accessible, which I think you guys have been really, really successful with. But
well, and the design is married with our staff, right? Like, I always say, the the slime is the star. So people come because of the slime, or their kids want the slime. They don't even know they want it yet. But the people are who makes the memories. It's our staff. And I
Right.
always say to our staff, I've never gotten an email that says, the red Fruit Loops slime, fifth vat in was the best slime ever. But do I get the emails saying, oh, Audrey was incredible. She really smiled and taught us how to make bubbles? Yeah.
So my introduction to slime would have happened on YTV. Like on YTV, we had I don't know, maybe this is a Canadian thing, but we had a show
It's a
called
Canadian thing.
yeah,
I was
show
just going
called
to ask.
yeah, it's probably a Canadian thing. So there was this show, and on this show, if anyone said these words, I don't remember what they are at the moment, you would immediately get dropped green slime on you from above the lights, and it would just crash into you. And they would have guests on, and they had some pretty big guests, and inevitably it was a word that people would use accidentally. And all of a sudden they would get slimed. And so that was my first introduction to slime. I'm a Gen Xer. When I think of that and I'm like, oh, interesting. Like you're so far from that idea. You're so far into a much more tactile. That was just gross in many senses, that idea of what they called slime. So it's just interesting. How do you advertise? How do you bring in people on slime? Because some people are going to be like, oh, that's kind of messy, or that's kind of gross. So how do you get them across that line? Or do
Yeah.
you not have to?
So, John, one of our sayings is, this is not the slime of your childhood.
I love it.
It's very different, very, very different. And we're in, which many people in the world of attractions and experiences is in, is we're only allowed to market to adults, right? But it's
Yeah.
the kids that want to come. So
Of
how do
course.
you
Yeah.
get that messaging across and that messaging through?
Yep.
And we have really cast a full approach for marketing that is not just online where Gen Xers are, which
Right. Yeah.
is Facebook, but the Instagram and TikTok of the other kids.
Yeah, totally.
And we actually do CCTV. We have television ads. We do outdoor advertising, both in billboards as well as wild posting. We do radio. Karen and I went on a sunshine tour through the Midwest in the middle of winter in yellow snowsuits, bringing slime everywhere to get people in Detroit and Grand Rapids to say, come to Chicago, have a great weekend, have fun. So we believe that if we can get someone in, they'll also come back, because everyone who comes leaves with a slime. Like when you buy a ticket, you get to custom make your own slime. So they're going home with a piece of Sloomoo that probably their kids will take. And then they're like, oh, well, I want to go get more. I've got to get more.
It's a really interesting transition that they leave with slime, because your model is slightly different than most immersive experiences. You have an 80-20 split, and there's an old saying, and I don't know how old it is, but there's an old saying in the space of exit through the gift shop. So like all these attractions do it, but Sloomoo is really built around the retail component with your split.
Yeah, so this was probably not the smartest business move, to create a business where you give someone the product. I think we did not wake up to this until like a year later, when we were like, do people really need to buy another slime when they're custom making their own slime as part of the experience? So ironically, slime is the #1 bestseller in our retail store. People are still buying slime, and I think part of it is that the variations are endless, and they're super cute. Like there's lots of different ones with clay pieces that are fun to push in. And then we have a large merchandise piece that's all around our IP and our characters. So it is the experience, and we like to believe that people will come back and test that out. So the store is secondary.
Yeah.
It is secondary, yeah. But you do exit through the gift shop, so we are trying to tap in.
Well, but it does transfer that experience to home.
It does.
Right? They can relive it when they get home.
Yeah, and our charms that are in the slime that you make have a QR code on the back that then tie back into the characters and our digital reality. So we are trying to create a 360 world where, yeah, you might go online, but then you'll come back to us.
Okay, so I've got a comment on you guys dressing up in sun suits essentially to walk around in the winter in the Midwest. So I'm Canadian. So I have
Snowsuits.
sorry, snowsuits. Yeah. So I'm a Canadian, so I have a deep relationship with snow. But that idea is so hilarious. And I mean, this is proof of how not normal entrepreneurs are. Like, who thinks of doing that kind of stuff? Entrepreneurs. I often look around and look at other team members and go, not everyone's going to be an entrepreneur, but that level of passion that you bring and entrepreneurs bring to things, I think everybody should have that. How do you help the people that you're bringing up with you, and I know you're mentoring people just by doing what you're doing. You're mentoring staff and team members and people around you. How are you bringing people into that mindset? Because I can only imagine that you're a pretty contagious person that way.
So we definitely make an impact. You can see I'm wearing hot pink right here today for our interview. Karen and I were very, very honored recently to win an Entrepreneur of the Year award from Ernst & Young, which is a big award.
Yeah.
And when we went in, we were dressed up. We happened to have Sloomoo leather jackets. And I kid you not, but everyone who worked at Ernst & Young was running up to us saying, "You must be the Sloomoo girls. You must be the Sloomoo girls," right? And so immediately everyone knows us and are coming up to our table and talking to us. We had the same thing happen at Chase recently. We went to an event at Chase and we were dressed up, and we have bags of slime with us too. That doesn't hurt because we're passing out goodies, but everyone's coming up to us. And I think our staff is learning by seeing that we're the only table in the room with everyone flocking. We're the ones where the head of payments for Chase is coming up and saying, "I researched you guys, I know you." And that leaves an impression on people. And when you're really excited about what you're doing, I don't see how you could work here and not be passionate about it.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I want to say for me, it actually translates a little bit back to my older daughter, because I used to always say to my younger daughter, like, let your freak flag fly, because we'd be walking down the street and my older daughter might be moaning or screaming or laughing hysterically, and we might be in a store and she can't stop laughing. She's crying, she's laughing so hard. And at some point it was like, either we're going to not go out ever, or we're going to go out and just be like, yeah, this is how we roll. We're laughing and screaming and having fun. And I think you lose that inhibition if you have someone in your life who's different. And it's definitely part of our family's DNA.
It's an incredible way of seeing things. Here I am. I'm wearing the banker suit, essentially the light blue shirt and everything.
Yes.
And but I love that whole mentality.
But Tim dressed for Sloomoo today. He's rocking it.
Yeah. And Tim always rocks it. It's just it's his thing. You've made an interesting statement, kind of publicly, that you believe that immersive experiences are the future of retail. That's kind of a profound statement, especially given that more and more people are buying online, and you have the advent of a lot of malls closing, a lot of boarded up buildings in the space. Tell me a little bit about your thoughts there.
Yeah, I think immersive means something really specific, because I think people hear that and they think a room with projectors.
Yeah, yes,
and
yes.
For us, immersive is your senses. It's tactile, it's emotional, and it's a connection. And I think my 6-year-old will basically grow up only knowing immersive experiences, right? Because if she needs socks, she's never going to go to TJ Maxx or a Walmart, right? Like, for that kind of stuff. But if she wants something that's more specific, she actually wants to engage in the product and the brand. And, on a very simple level, that's why Sephora is so effective, right? You go in, you can try things. There's people to help you experiment, and it is somewhat immersive. I don't think big brands who are trying to create immersiveness by being just digital and doing screens are missing the point of a guest or a customer experience. And it's only when they take off their hat that they're trying to sell something, and they turn it into, this is the core DNA of our brand that we want to deliver. And then, oh, by the way, how do we sell it, right? Are things really going to evolve? So it's really a branding question. What is at the core of your brand, and how are you going to get people to feel that? And the kids, young kids today, will only want to feel. They're going to want that emotion because they can get everything else. They can buy it online or they can just watch it online.
Yeah, it's interesting. We're on a call where we're all digitally connected to each other, and we're having a good talk. And yet, if we were to sit in a room together, we would connect better. And I love brain science. I'm fascinated by how our minds work and the ways that they work. And they don't know how to describe it yet, but we have some sort of like brain Wi-Fi that connects us when we're in a room together that you don't get digitally, and they can't replicate digitally. And it's something to do with being in person with each other.
Wow.
And I think it's sort of a fascinating environment that what you're saying is we need to connect with people and connect with the brand. And when we say connecting with the brand, I think we're saying connecting with the people that are the ambassadors of the brand, because that is what the brand really is. It is more than just a nice, pretty picture or a logo and, a thought process. It's where's that ethos coming from? So
what I love about what you're saying, because it taps into some research that was done by the National Institute for Play.
I've heard of this institute before. Yes.
Yeah. So their 92-year-old founder discovered that play is the second most important thing to your health after sleep.
Really?
And the absence of play can lead to severe social consequences. Like, you actually need play to be human, to be a good human, to connect, to be out there. So there is something about playing that makes your brain go to the place. The same thing as having a good night's sleep, right? You need to play.
Yeah.
And I believe that especially for slime, it's connecting you to yourself, because you're triggering things in your hand and the scent that, make your brain feel good, but then looking and smiling at other people.
Yeah. The shared experiences.
Sharing it together.
Yeah.
And that smile and that connection. So you're firing on like 3 different levels when you come to Sloomoo Institute, because you're playing, you're connecting to yourself, and you're connecting to others. And that's why I think people feel so good when they've left.
So I agree with you. And I think we're way off topic here, but this is a fascinating part of the conversation. So let's keep going. They did this study about interconnectivity between people and whether you could get that brain Wi-Fi connect going. And they only found one other place that they were able to do it digitally. And it's fascinating. It is in extremely immersive and cooperative video games where you are working. So like maybe it's like a World of Warcraft or some game where you're on a group together. You believe the same, you're achieving the same goal together. It takes effort. There's, ups and downs. There's these kind of things. You have these communities that get built. And then in that, they've been able to replicate that same kind of belonging or capability. And they don't know why. That
community piece. Yeah. That community piece is critical. We did a study with Good Quest where they were looking at loneliness for adults. And one of their philosophies is that people aren't necessarily more lonely than they were in the past, but we have a whole language to talk about loneliness now, right? We have the words and the dialogue to talk about it.
Yeah.
And so they measured people's loneliness and happiness and connectedness before and after they were sent slime to their office. And putting slime in the conference room meant that people would pick it up, start playing. What color did you choose? What scent did you choose? And they were starting to get to know their colleagues in a way that was fun and playful, not just where's my spreadsheet or why are you losing money? That for the first 5 minutes of a meeting allowed people to be connected. And at the end, they were like, the percentage of people who felt connected to their business, connected to each other, less lonely, went way up just from having like a little bit of slime in their meeting rooms.
You're going to have to order a bunch of slime, Tim. That's what we're going to have to do.
I was thinking the same thing. Like,
when we first started, and one of the things when you're onto something, we had a meeting and the meetings would go on, and Karen are like, we're entrepreneurs, like we got to get going. And in the end of one of these meetings, this woman goes, this is the best meeting I've had all year. I've never had a meeting that's so good, because we've been sitting here playing with slime. And I'm like, no wonder the meeting lasted an hour and a half. Like everyone was just having fun.
Okay, we're getting close to the end of our podcast here, which I'm sad because this has been absolutely fantastic. We're going to go to something we call the lightning round. We're going to ask you quick questions and see if you can answer quickly. We've never done the lightning round before, so this may be one of those trial and error things that we find out doesn't really work, but let's go for it. So, and the irony of the lightning round is that the very first question's super long, which is kind of funny. But so I'm going to read the question out, and then you're going to laugh because it's really long. It says, looking at the competitive landscape, Meow Wolf's, dense narratives, camps, licensed IP, you've forged a third path. For operators who want to build original brands but don't have a sci-fi universe or Disney movie to start with, what's your advice?
Tap into something that is meaningful and that you love and you're passionate about.
Wow, you just nailed that answer. That was perfect. That is, lightning round answer. Check mark.
Wait a minute. Okay, is the lightning round like a short answer, or did you want like longer answers?
No,
to me, lightning round is like.
You did perfect.
We only have 3 questions in the lightning round.
Oh, good. So we can alternate, and I can ask you guys a
we
question.
can do that too.
Yeah, you totally go for it. Yeah.
All right. So my question that I have, because you're looking across a whole industry, is how do you think the world, and I'm going to use specifically of family attractions, family entertainment, is evolving?
It's a good question. Tim, you want to go first? I'm happy to jump in.
It's been interesting because you have successfully gotten people to put their phones down, but the attractions industry in general have been fighting phones for a number of years. You can't take it on a ride. You can't take it in this experience. We don't want you to take videos. We don't want you to share. It really goes against everything that you have built around Sloomoo, right? What the attractions industry is doing. And I think that we're starting to shift in a way. We see Disney building rides like the Tron Light Cycle ride that actually has a compartment in front of you to put your phone in, right? So you take it on the ride with you, which is something that was really unheard of. But I think that we're shifting back to the guest, right? Like we've tried to fit the guest in this cookie cutter, and now it's more of a, what does the guest need to feel connected and disconnected at the same time within the experience to really accelerate that. So I think that we're seeing that more and more. And I think the adoption of smart technology, like I think Disney went too far with some of the stuff that they've done in the park, because you can't really experience it without looking at your phone the whole time. But I think the industry is moving, especially family-based attractions, to the adoption of smart technology.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
So that's a fantastic answer. Also, you completely failed the lightning round because that was like a long answer, and it's supposed.
Have I ever given a short answer in my life? No.
So I'll try and answer the question as well, and that is, I think the definition of family continues to change, and I think some of the more traditional parks out there are continually trying to figure out what that means. We still think in the idea of twos and fours, like two adults, 2 kids. I think that continues to change. And then I think that the absolute purpose of any attraction is to separate you from reality and give you a belonging in a different reality that you can share with the people around you. Now, that doesn't mean necessarily always your family, although that would be optimal because those are the people you're going to spend the large portion of your life with, but give you a memory or something else that is just going to be something that you can share with someone else and that's unique to you. I think that's really hard to do at scale, but I don't think it's impossible.
I agree. I mean, I'm finding, and Karen and I have found, sources of information through performance art. And I think that's what continues to tap our spirit and our inspiration, is going in and seeing artwork where an artist has gone out on the edge and is doing something not scalable, but
Mhm.
totally unbelievable,
Mhm.
and trying to be provocative and get you to think differently, see differently, feel differently. And we're always going to try to experience things and bring little nuggets of that back with us.
Mhm.
We just went to an immersive experience in New York City called Viola's Room, where you took off your socks, no phone, no anything else, by the way,
Yeah.
Tim. And you had to crawl through tunnels, and you had a headset that triggered music, and you followed light through a maze. And it was good. It wasn't perfect, but it gave us little ideas, right? Because it was a super cool, interesting way to tell a story. And that's where I think a lot of the digital components miss is the storytelling,
Mhm.
because that's what families want, is to have their own story that's wrapped inside a story that you've been able to create around them. And if something's really digital, sometimes it's missing that.
I agree. I so I like to tell stories, so I'm going to tell a very brief story, and then they can cut it out later. But basically, one of my most profound experiences that I ever had with an attraction. I think I was 11. I grew up in Thunder Bay, Ontario, in Canada, and we had something there, an attraction called Old Fort William, which was a historical old British fort up in the middle of the woods, protecting the river, where they would bring all the materials up and down the river. And I went there and I spent there as a day camp. Now, I remember not wanting to go, but I went as a day camp. There's about 20 kids that went, and they spent the day teaching us the history of this camp and how it would have operated. And they had live actors in all the roles. So there was a guy making canoes. There was a guy making there was a blacksmith. They were making bread, all these other kind of things. And some point at the end of the day, they said, we're going to do something. We're going to pick 6 of you. And somehow I was one of the ones picked. And they said, go in that room and change into those clothes that you have in the room in the corners and the numbers we give you. And I got a gentleman's outfit. And so I put on the beaver hat and the suit jacket and stuff like that. And I walked around, and all of the people in the park treated me as if I was actually a gentleman of that time. And we got bread. We walked through some of the back parts of the place you couldn't see before. It was just so profoundly magical that there was not a digital thing in sight.
Mm-hmm.
But I got to be something and pretend to be something and be in a different world for a little bit of time. And they curated the whole thing. But I walked around and I'm like, I want to go in that building. They're like, okay, let you do that. And something about that just got in my head that that's what we're trying to do.
And it's so simple. It's so simple. That's what I love about it. It's analog.
Yep.
It's storytelling. You got to transform yourself. You got to go to a different place. You were part of a story. I mean, it's awesome.
And I remember it vividly, and now I'm 50, right? So these things just stay with you. And I think we're trying to do that in a lot of different places.
It's really these curated experiences.
100%.
That are one-off. We're experts at building for the masses, and I think the industry is shifting to creating these magical moments.
Yeah.
Within that space. And you can do it without spending a lot of money.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I do have one last question for you, Sarah. So you and Karen, I feel weird asking this, but you and Karen are both serial entrepreneurs at heart. And Sloomoo's not done. It's just getting started. But what's next?
So we may be crazy, but we want to start another business together. So we're in this together. I think we would like to really revolutionize something in the arts. If we made a ton of money and didn't have to work, it would be doing something around the arts and performance art, performative, immersive art experiences, and enabling those to come to life. I think that's what creates, to John's story about dressing up, is it really can impact kids and change how they view the world as well as adults. So I think that's something that we'd want to do, is to tap into all of our artist friends.
Very cool.
Well, we'll be there when it opens.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that.
Well, thank you so very much for taking the time with us today. It's been fantastic. I hope our paths cross again. I'd love to come and see one of your attractions. It sounds like a really good time.
You definitely have to come, and we'll send you boxes of slime.
You're listening to Signal.